The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched out like a vast bowl made of crystal and metal. Thousands of seats rose up in circles, each one filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some looked like giant lizards with golden scales. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few glowed with their own light. In the center of it all sat the humans. Ambassador Kyung-ho straightened his black suit and looked around the chamber. His dark eyes were tired. For 30 years, he had sat in this same spot, speaking for all of humanity. For 30 years, he had watched the other species treat humans like children who did not know better. "The human request is denied," announced Speaker Vexithara from the high platform. The tall reptilian being's voice echoed through the chamber. Her golden scales caught the light as she moved. 3 colonies per century is more than enough for such a young species. Kyung-ho stood up slowly. Around him, the other human delegates shifted in their seats. Captain Yuna, who commanded the human fleet stationed near the council, clenched her fists. Director Dae-sung, who managed all human colonies, shook his head in disgust. "Speaker Vexthara," Kyung-ho said, his voice calm but firm. "Humanity currently supports 40% of the Council's resource needs. Our ships patrol more trade routes than any other species. Our colonies produce food that feeds half the galaxy, yet we are limited to expanding slower than species who contribute far less." A sound like laughter rippled through the chamber. It came from the hegemony delegates, the most powerful group in the Council. They thought humans were amusing, like pets trying to act important. "Resources are not everything, human," Vexithara replied. "Wisdom comes with age. Your species has only been in space for a few centuries. We have ruled the stars for millions of years." Kyung-ho felt something snap inside him. Not anger exactly, but a cold certainty. He had heard these same words too, many times. "And in those millions of years," he said, "what have you built?" "The same ships using the same technology your ancestors used 1,000 years ago. The same laws that keep new ideas from growing. The same fear of change that made you weak." The chamber fell silent. No one spoke to the council like this, not ever. Captain Yuna felt her heart racing. She had spent 15 years protecting council ships from pirates. She had saved alien worlds from raiders. She had followed every order, no matter how stupid it seemed. And for what? So they could be told they were too young to expand? Too stupid. To make their own choices? Director Dae-sung thought about the research station. 3 months ago, human scientists working on Kepler Station had discovered something amazing. A new way to travel between stars that was much faster than anything the Council used. The next day, raiders had destroyed the station, killed everyone on it. The Council said they could not find who did it. But Dae-sung knew the truth. The humans had found the raiders' ships. They were council vessels with their markings painted over. The council had murdered human scientists to keep them from getting too advanced. "Speaker Vexithara," Kyung-ho continued, "humanity formally requests access to Tier 7 technology. We have met every requirement. Our scientists understand the principles. Our people can handle the responsibility." "Denied," Vexithara said without even thinking about it. "Humans are not ready for such power. Then we request permission to establish 50 new colonies in the Outer Rim. Denied. We request the right to patrol our own space without council oversight. Denied. We request representation equal to our contributions to this council. Denied." Kyung-ho nodded slowly. He looked around the chamber one more time. At the beings who thought they were so much better than humans. At the species who took human help, but gave nothing back. At the council that had never treated humanity as equals. "Very well," he said. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. It looked like a simple data pad, but it was much more than that. Every human in the galaxy would receive this message in minutes. "By the authority given to me by the United Earth Government and the Colonial Assembly," Kyung-ho said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent chamber. "I hereby withdraw humanity from the Galactic Council." The silence stretched on. Then, Vexithara began to laugh. It was a sound like metal scraping against stone. "You cannot survive without us, little human," she said. "You need our protection, our trade routes, our technology. You will come crawling back within a year, begging to rejoin." Kyung-ho smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Speaker Vexithara," he said, "you have no idea what humanity is capable of." He pressed the button on the device. Across the galaxy, every human ship, every human colony, every human outpost received the same message. 3 words that would change everything. "Pack it up." The human delegates stood as one. They walked toward the exits without looking back. Captain Yoon-ah felt lighter with each step. Director Dae-sung felt free for the first time in decades. "You are making a mistake," Vexithara called after them. "The galaxy is dangerous. You cannot protect yourselves." Kyung-ho stopped at the great doors of the chamber. He turned back one last time. "We have been protecting ourselves," he said, "and protecting you too. You just never knew it." Then the humans were gone. In space around the Council station, human ships began to move. Captain Yoon-ah stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching alien vessels scramble to get out of the way. Her fleet had been guarding this place for 15 years. Now they were leaving. "All ships," she said into her communicator. "Set course for home." "Captain," her second officer said, "the Council fleet is trying to contact us. They want to know about the defense grid." Yuna smiled. The Council did not know that humans had been running most of their security systems. They did not know about the hidden sensors that watched every ship coming and going. They did not know about the weapons platforms disguised as communication arrays. "Tell them," she said, "that the defense grid will shut down in 24 hours. After that, they are on their own." As her fleet jumped to hyperspace, Yuna felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. Behind them, the great council station hung in space, suddenly looking very small and very alone. In the chamber, the alien delegates sat in confusion. For the first time in millions of years, they had to wonder what would happen next. They had no idea that the universe had just changed forever. 5 years had passed since the humans walked out of the Galactic Council. The great chamber on Nexus Prime still held its meetings, but something felt different. Empty. The alien delegates had grown used to having humans around, even if they never admitted it. Speaker Vexithara stood before a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed where problems had appeared in the last year. Trade routes attacked by pirates, supply shipments that never arrived, strange energy readings from empty space. "The humans were supposed to come back by now," muttered Counselor Zethkar, a slug-like being from the outer rim. "They cannot survive without our help." But the humans had not come back. They had not asked for help. They had not even sent a message. It was like they had vanished from the galaxy entirely. What the Council did not know was that humanity had been very busy. Admiral Subin stood on the bridge of her flagship watching the construction of New Seoul Station. The massive structure hung in space like a metal flower, its arms reaching out in all directions. Around it, hundreds of ships moved back and forth, bringing supplies and taking away finished goods. "Report," she said to her aide. 3 more systems came online this week, Admiral," the young officer replied. "That brings our total to 412 colonies." Subin nodded. 412 colonies in 5 years. The Council had said humans could build 3 per century. They had no idea what humans could do when they stopped asking for permission. On the planet below, Dr. Tae Hyun worked in his laboratory. The walls were covered with designs that would have made Council scientists weep with envy. Faster-than-light engines that did not need the special crystals the Council controlled. Weapons that could punch through any known shield. Ships that could hide from every scanner the galaxy had ever seen. "The new drive is ready for testing," his assistant said. Tae Hyun smiled. The council thought their technology was so advanced. They had no idea that humans had been taking apart every piece of council tech they could get their hands on for the past 50 years. Learning, improving, building something better. Good, he said. Send word to Admiral Jinwoo. Tell him we can move to Phase 3. Across human space, Colonial Governor Boram was dealing with a different kind of problem. Her office on Harmony Colony looked out over a city that had grown from nothing to 2 million people in just 3 years. The problem was not building homes or finding food. The problem was that more people wanted to come than they had room for. The application list is now at 50 million people, her secretary reported. And that is just for this month. Boram shook her head. When humans left the council, many alien species had laughed, but some had not. Some had seen opportunity. Now refugees from across the galaxy were asking to join human colonies, to work for human companies, to live under human protection. Approve them all, she said. We will find room. Her secretary looked surprised. All of them? Even the council species? Especially the council species, Boram replied. Let them see what they gave up when they treated us like children. In the deepest parts of human space, Intelligence Chief Wu Jin worked on secrets the council could never imagine. His agents were everywhere. They watched every council meeting. They listened to every military communication. They knew about problems before the council leaders did. But today, Wu Jin was looking at something different. Something that made his blood run cold. Show me the readings again, he said to the technician. The screen lit up with data from the edge of the galaxy. Ships that were not ships. Signals that followed no known pattern. Energy readings that broke the laws of physics. They call themselves the Void Hunters, the technician said. Our scouts have been watching them for 6 months. They are not from this galaxy. Wu Jin studied the images. The Void Hunters' ships looked like they were made from dark crystal and metal that bent light around it. They moved in ways that made no sense. And everywhere they went, planets died. How long until they reach council space? He asked. 2 years. Maybe less. Wu Jin nodded grimly. The council had no idea what was coming. Their old ships and older thinking would not save them from this threat. But humans knew. Humans had been preparing. Send word to all fleet commanders, he said. Begin Operation Shepherd. On the edge of the galaxy, Captain Minho watched through. His ship's sensors as Void Hunter scouts probed the defenses of a small council world. The aliens on that planet had no idea death was coming for them. Their sensors could not even see the enemy ships. But human sensors could. Sir, his weapons, officer said. We could take out those scouts. The Void Hunters would never know we were here. Minho thought about it. The council had thrown humanity out, had called them too weak to matter, had murdered human scientists to keep them from growing too powerful. Why should humans care what happened to council worlds? But then he thought about the families on that planet below. Children who had done nothing wrong. People who just wanted to live their lives in peace. Target the lead scout ship, he said. Fire when ready. The human ship's weapons were invisible to both sides. The Void Hunter scout simply vanished, torn apart by forces it could not detect or defend against. The other scouts fled back into dark space, carrying warnings about something they could not understand. On the planet below, the council garrison saw only empty space. They never knew how close death had come. They never knew they had been saved. This happened on 17 worlds that month. Void Hunter scouts appeared, probed defenses, and mysteriously vanished. The council thought their luck was improving. They had no idea that human ships were protecting them from shadows. Back on Nexus Prime, Speaker Vexithera received a report that made her confused and angry. Trade is up 12% this year, the economic advisor reported. Pirate attacks are down 60%. Supply shipments are arriving ahead of schedule. How is that possible? Vexithera demanded. The humans handled most of our logistics. Without them, everything should be falling apart. The advisor shifted nervously. We are not sure, Speaker. Our systems are running more efficiently than ever. Almost like someone is still helping us, but we cannot see who. Vexthara's golden scales darkened with anger. The humans were supposed to come crawling back by now. They were supposed to beg for forgiveness. Instead, things were getting better without them. She did not know that human ships still moved through council space, invisible to their sensors. She did not know that human computers still helped run their trade networks. She did not know that. Humans were fighting battles the council would never hear about. Most of all, she did not know that the real war had not even started yet. In his hidden base, Dr. Tae-hyun put the finishing touches on humanity's greatest secret. Project Prometheus was almost complete. Soon, humans would have weapons that could reshape reality itself. Technology that would make the Council's greatest achievements look like stone knives. "How long?" Admiral Subin asked when she called. "For an update." "6 more months," Tae-hyun replied. "Maybe less if the new factories come online early." Subin nodded. 6 months to finish building humanity's hidden strength. 6 months before the galaxy learned what humans could really do. 6 months before the Void Hunters arrived in force. She looked out at the stars and smiled. The Council thought humans had run away. They thought humans were too weak to survive alone. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first attack came without warning. On the peaceful world of SciFiPrime, home to 12 billion Council citizens, the morning started like any other. Children went to school, workers traveled to their jobs. No one noticed the dark shapes. Moving between the stars, the Void Hunters struck at dawn. Their ships appeared out of nowhere, black as empty space and twice as cold. They did not ask for surrender. They did not make demands. They simply began to feed. Within hours, 3 cities were gone, not destroyed but consumed. The buildings, the people, even the ground itself had been eaten by machines that turned matter into energy. The survivors sent desperate signals across the galaxy. "This is SciFiPrime. We are under attack. Unknown vessels are consuming our world. Please, someone help us." The message reached the council chambers within minutes. Speaker Vexthara stared at the images from Zentara with horror. She had never seen anything like the Void Hunter ships. They moved like living things, bending and flowing as they devoured everything in their path. "Send the Third Fleet immediately," she ordered. "Ma'am," replied Admiral Kethmore, the Council's top military commander, "the Third Fleet is 2 days, away at best speed." "Then send everything we have." But it was already too late. By the time the first Council ships arrived, SciFiPrime was a dead rock floating in space. 12 billion people were gone. Only empty darkness remained. The same pattern repeated on 2 more worlds that week. The Council fleets arrived to find nothing but lifeless planets and strange energy readings. The enemy ships had vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared. In the emergency session of the Council, panic filled the air like smoke. "What are these things?" demanded Councillor Zethkar, his slug-like body trembling with fear. "We do not know," admitted Vexthara. "Our sensors can barely detect them. Our weapons seem to have no effect. They appear, consume everything they can find, and disappear." "We need help," said another councillor. "What about the hegemony's secret weapons?" "Already tried. The Void Hunters adapted to them within hours." The chamber fell silent. For the first time in their history, the mighty Galactic Council faced an enemy they could not understand or defeat. "There is one option," Kethmore said quietly. "We could ask the humans for help." The suggestion created an explosion of angry voices. The idea of asking humans for anything after they had stormed out of the Council was humiliating. But as the arguments continued, more reports came in. 5 worlds attacked, 7 worlds consumed. The enemy was getting stronger. Finally, Vexthara raised her hand for silence. "Send a message to human space," she said, the words tasting bitter in her mouth. "Tell them we request their assistance in dealing with this threat. The message was sent on an old emergency channel. For 3 days, there was no response. Then a simple reply came back. Just 4 words that made Vexithera's scales burn with rage. We will consider it. What the Council did not know was that humans had been fighting the Void Hunters for months. Fleet Admiral Jin Woo stood on the bridge of his battleship, watching his weapons tear apart a Void Hunter cruiser. Around him, dozens of human ships moved in perfect coordination, using technology the Council could not even imagine. "Target destroyed, sir," reported his weapons officer. "No survivors." Jin Woo nodded. This was the 15th Void Hunter ship his fleet had destroyed this month. The enemy was learning to fear human weapons, but they kept coming anyway. "Any word from command about the Council's request?" he asked his communications officer. "Admiral Subin says to continue current operations. Let them sweat a little longer." Jin Woo smiled grimly. The Council had thrown humanity out 5 years ago, had called them too weak to matter. Now they wanted human help, but they were not desperate enough yet. On the research station hidden in the Vega system, Dr. Na Young studied the remains of Void Hunter technology. What she had learned made her sick to her stomach. They are not just consuming matter for energy, she explained to the other scientists. They are learning from it. Every ship they eat, every city they consume, makes them smarter and stronger. "How is that possible?" asked her assistant. "Their ships are not machines. They are living things. Biomechanical organisms that can adapt and evolve in real time. That is why Council weapons stop working after a few hits. The Void Hunters learn to resist them." "What about our weapons?" Na Young looked at the data from Jin Woo's battles. "Our weapons work because they use principles the Void Hunters have never seen before. But even we cannot rely on the same tactics forever. They will adapt eventually." Her research confirmed what Intelligence Chief Wu Jin had feared. The Void Hunters were not just raiders or conquerors. They were a force of nature, consuming everything in their path and growing stronger with each meal. But humans had advantages the Void Hunters could not expect. Captain Minho received new orders while patrolling the edge of Council space. A Void Hunter battle group was approaching the industrial world of Kepler-7. 2 billion aliens lived there, working in factories that supplied half the Council's military equipment. The Council fleet defending the system had 12 ships. The Void Hunters were coming with 50. "Sir," his navigation officer said, "our orders are to observe only. Command says we should not reveal ourselves unless absolutely necessary." Minho watched the tactical display as the Council ships moved. To intercept the Void Hunters, brave aliens preparing to die to protect their world, they had no chance against an enemy that learned from every attack. The battle was over in 30 minutes. The Council ships fought well, but their weapons became less effective with each shot. The Void Hunters adapted, evolved, and overwhelmed them. Soon the enemy fleet was descending toward Kepler-7 like a dark cloud. "Sir," the weapons officer said urgently, "the planet will be consumed within hours. We could stop them." Minho thought about his orders, about the Council leaders who had called humans weak, about the civilians on the planet below who had never done anything to hurt anyone. "All ships," he said into his communicator. "This is Captain Minho. Ignore previous orders. We are going in." The human fleet materialized out of empty space like ghosts becoming solid. Their ships used technology that bent light around them, making them invisible until they chose to attack. The Void Hunters had never seen anything like it. Human weapons struck like lightning from a clear sky. Plasma beams that could not be adapted to because they changed their fundamental nature with each shot. Gravity weapons that crushed enemy ships by making space itself heavy. Energy fields that turned Void Hunter biometal against itself. In 10 minutes, the entire Void Hunter battle group was destroyed. The surviving Council ships could only watch in amazement as human vessels appeared and vanished like spirits. When the battle was over, only one human ship remained visible long enough to send a message. "This is Captain Minho of the Human Defense Fleet. Kepler-7 is secure. Tell your leaders that humanity remembers its friends." Then the human ship disappeared, leaving only empty space and the grateful calls of 2 billion saved lives. News of the battle reached the Council within hours. For the first time, someone had not just survived a Void Hunter attack, but won decisively. The mysterious human fleet had appeared from nowhere, destroyed an overwhelming enemy force, and vanished again. In the council chambers, the debate was fierce but brief. "Send another message to the humans," Vexithara ordered. "Tell them we are prepared to negotiate." This time, the human response came immediately. "We will meet with you in 3 days. Neutral space. Come alone." The galaxy was about to learn that the humans had never really left at all. The meeting took place in the ruins of an ancient space station floating between star systems. Once, it had been a trading post where different species came to exchange goods and ideas. Now it was just broken metal and faded dreams, perfect for secrets. Supreme Commander Haywan arrived first, her single ship materializing out of empty space like a star being born. She was not the same woman who had served under the Council 5 years ago. Command of humanity's hidden fleets had changed her, made her harder and more confident. Speaker Vexithara came with 3 ships and twice as many bodyguards. She had ruled the galaxy for 2 centuries, but now she felt small and uncertain. The human ship that waited for her looked nothing like the vessel she remembered. It was sleek and dark, covered with lines that seemed to bend light around them. Inside the old station's conference room, the 2 leaders sat across from each other at a table that had seen better days. The air was cold and thin, but both sides had brought their own breathing equipment. "You wanted to talk," Haywan said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were like ice. "Talk." Vexthara felt her pride burning in her chest. For 200 years, other species had begged her for help. Now, she was the one who needed something. "The Void Hunters are destroying everything," she began. 17 worlds consumed in the past month. Our fleets cannot stop them. Our weapons are useless." "I know," Haywan replied. "We have been watching." "Watching?" Vexithara's golden scales darkened with anger. "You have been watching while billions die?" "We have been doing more than watching. Who do you think stopped the attack on Kepler-7, or saved the research stations at Proxima, or evacuated the civilians from Delta Cygni before the Void Hunters arrived?" Vexithara stared at her. "That was impossible. Our sensors showed no human ships in those areas." Haywan smiled, and it was not a kind expression. "Your sensors show what we want them to show. We have been protecting Council worlds for months while you stumbled around blind." The truth hit Vexithara like a physical blow. All those mysterious victories, all those lucky escapes, all those times when help appeared from nowhere. It had been humans all along. "Why?" she asked. "We threw you out. We treated you like children. Why help us?" "Because," Haywan said, "we are not like you. We do not let people die just because we are angry with their leaders." Vexithara felt something she had not experienced in centuries. Shame. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. "Everything," Haywan replied. Before Vexithara could respond, alarms began screaming throughout the station. Both leaders looked at the displays showing space around them. 50 Void Hunter ships had appeared, moving in perfect formation toward the meeting point. "How did they find us?" Vexithara demanded. "They have been learning," Haywan said, standing up. "Getting smarter. They probably followed your ships." The Void Hunter fleet spread out like a dark flower, surrounding the ancient station. Their ships pulsed with energy that made space itself seem sick. Haywan touched a device on her wrist. "All units, execute Plan Omega." "What is Plan Omega?" Vexithara asked. "You wanted to see what humanity can really do," Haywan said. "Now you will." The space around the station began to change. Stars that had been there moments before flickered and moved. Empty areas suddenly filled with massive structures. Ships appeared everywhere, but not just ships. Entire battle stations materialized out of nothing, bristling with weapons that hurt to look at. Vexathera realized she was looking at the largest fleet ever assembled. Thousands of human ships, ranging from small fighters to vessels the size of moons. They had been there all along, hidden by technology that made them invisible to every sensor in the galaxy. "Impossible," she whispered. "We learned a lot in 5 years," Haywan said, "including how to hide entire fleets in folded space." The Void Hunters stopped their advance, confused by the sudden appearance of so many enemies. Their ships began to pulse faster, trying to analyze the new threat. "All ships," Haywan said into her communicator, "weapons free. Show them what we have been building." What followed was not really a battle. It was a demonstration. Human ships moved like dancers, flowing around Void Hunter attacks with impossible grace. Their weapons fired beams of energy that changed color and frequency with each shot, making it impossible for the enemy to adapt. Some human vessels seemed to exist in multiple places at once, attacking from directions that should not have been possible. The largest human ship, a monster the size of a small moon, opened its main weapon. Space itself seemed to crack as a beam of pure darkness struck the Void Hunter flagship. The enemy ship simply ceased to exist, not destroyed, but removed from reality entirely. In 15 minutes, it was over. 50 Void Hunter ships had been reduced to scattered particles floating in space. Not one human vessel had been damaged. Vexathera sat in her chair, unable to speak. The power she had just witnessed was beyond anything she had imagined. Humanity had not just advanced in 5 years. They had become something new entirely. "How?" she finally managed to ask. "We stopped asking permission to grow," Haywan replied. "We stopped accepting limits placed on us by species too afraid to change. We became what we were always meant to be." On her ship, Admiral Jinwoo received reports from across the galaxy. The demonstration had been seen by millions. News of the battle was spreading like fire through space. Every species in the galaxy now knew that humans possessed weapons that could delete enemy ships from existence. But more importantly, they knew that humans were willing to use those weapons to protect others. Tactical genius, Dongjun smiled as he read the intelligence reports flooding in from across Council space. Alien governments were calling emergency meetings. Military commanders were demanding explanations. Some species were panicking, afraid that humans might turn their terrible weapons on former enemies. Others were doing something different. They were asking to join humanity. "Sir," his aide reported, "we are receiving formal requests for alliance from 47 different species. They want human protection from the Void Hunters." Dongjun nodded. This was what they had hoped for. Not conquest through fear, but partnership through respect. Back on the ruined station, Vexathera looked at the human commander who had just redefined galactic politics with a single battle. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Haywan said, "we do things differently. No more council that makes decisions based on who is oldest or strongest. No more limits on growth because some species are afraid of change. No more letting good people die because of politics. You want to rule the galaxy. We want to save it," Haywan corrected. "The Void Hunters are just the beginning. There are worse things coming from outside our galaxy. The old ways will not survive what is approaching." She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "The council is finished, Speaker Vexathera. The question is whether you want to help us build something better, or whether you want to be remembered as the leader who let pride destroy her people." Vexathera thought about the 17 worlds that had been consumed, about the billions who had died while the council argued and delayed, about the human fleet that had appeared from nowhere to fight battles the council could not win. "What do you need from us?" she asked. Heiwan turned back to her with the first genuine smile she had shown. "Everything," she repeated. "And in return, we will give you something the Council never could." "What is that?" "A future." The final battle came at the heart of the galaxy itself. Grand Admiral Yun-Su stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the massive structure that the Void Hunters had built around the central black hole. It looked like a spiderweb made of dark metal and pulsing energy, stretching across millions of kilometers. At its center, something terrible was growing. "Report," she ordered. "The construct is nearly complete," her science officer replied. "If they finish it, they will be able to drain energy directly from the black hole. The power would make them unstoppable." Around the human fleet, ships from dozens of species waited for orders. The old Galactic Council was gone, dissolved 3 months ago when its member worlds voted to join the new Terran cooperative. Former enemies now fought side by side under human leadership, but even with their combined fleets, the task seemed impossible. The Void Hunters had brought everything they had. Thousands of their bioships swarmed around the construct like antibodies protecting a vital organ. "Ma'am," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a message from the construct itself." The main screen flickered and filled with an image that made everyone on the bridge step back. It was a face, but not quite. Features that shifted and changed like liquid metal. Eyes that held the cold intelligence of a machine and the hunger of a living thing. "I am the Void Empress," the creature said, its voice like the sound of stars, dying. "I speak for all hunters. Your resistance ends today." Yun-Su stepped forward. "I am Grand Admiral Yun-Su of the Terran Cooperative. Your invasion ends today." The Void Empress laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You think your little alliance can stop us? We have consumed 1,000 galaxies. We have eaten civilizations that were old when your son was young." "Then you should know," Yun-Su replied calmly, "that every galaxy you consumed made the same mistake. They fought you with the same old weapons, the same old tactics. They never learned to change. And you think you are different? We know we are." Yun-Su turned to her weapons officer. "Begin final preparations. Signal all ships to assume attack positions." Across the combined fleet, alien captains who had once been enemies prepared to follow human orders. Vexithara, now serving as a fleet commander, felt strange giving commands to ships that had once served her, but she had learned to trust human judgment. On the engineering deck, Chief Engineer Jae Sung made final adjustments to humanity's most secret weapon. Project Prometheus was complete, but it had never been tested on this scale. The device looked small and simple, just a black sphere, the size of a basketball. But inside, it contained technology that could reshape the basic laws of physics. "Are you sure this will work?" asked his assistant. "No," Jae Sung admitted, "but it is our only chance." The battle began when 10,000 Void Hunter ships rushed toward the Allied fleet like a dark tide. Their biometal hulls pulsed with energy as they prepared to adapt to whatever weapons faced them. But the humans had learned from every previous battle. They did not use the same weapons twice. Ships that had appeared solid suddenly became clouds of tiny fighters, weapons that fired energy beams 1 second launched, physical projectiles the next. Some human vessels seemed to fight from multiple dimensions at once, attacking from directions that did not exist in normal space. The Void Hunters tried to adapt, but every time they changed to resist one attack, the humans switched to something completely different. It was like trying to defend against an enemy that could rewrite the rules of war every few seconds. "Phase 2, Yun-Su ordered. The Allied fleet suddenly spread out across a front millions of kilometers wide. Instead of fighting as separate ships, they began to fight as a single organism. Sensors, shared between vessels, created awareness that spanned entire star systems. Weapons coordinated across the fleet fired in perfect harmony. The Void Empress watched from her construct as her seemingly endless swarms were slowly pushed back. For the first time in eons, she felt something she had almost forgotten: uncertainty. How are they doing this? She demanded from her subordinates. They do not fight like individuals, one of her generals reported. They share thoughts, share knowledge. When one learns something, they all know it instantly. The Void Empress snarled. This was evolution beyond what her species had achieved. The humans were not just cooperating, they were becoming something greater than the sum of their parts. Deploy. The final swarm, she ordered. All remaining ships. Crush them with numbers. 1,000,000 Void Hunter vessels emerged from the construct, so many that they blocked out the stars. But instead of attacking, the human fleet did something unexpected. They stopped fighting and began to sing, not with voices but with their ship's communications arrays, a harmony that spread across space, carried by quantum frequencies that penetrated every form of matter. The song was mathematical, beautiful, and impossible to ignore. To human ears, it sounded like hope made into music. To alien minds, it felt like coming home after a long journey. But to the Void Hunters, it was something else entirely. It was an invitation. "What is this?" the Void Empress demanded, but her voice was uncertain now. Diplomat General Young Mi's face appeared on the construct's screens. She had been chosen for this moment because she understood what humans had truly learned during their years away from the Council. "It is a choice," she said simply. "You have spent so long consuming other life that you forgot what it felt like to create something new. We are offering you the chance to remember." The song grew stronger, carrying with it images of what the galaxy could become, worlds where different species worked together. Technology that healed instead of destroyed. Civilizations that grew through cooperation instead of conquest. "You could be part of this," Young Mi continued. "You do not have to consume anymore. We can teach you to build, to grow, to become something more than just hunger." For a moment, the entire galaxy held its breath. 1,000,000 Void Hunter ships hung motionless in space, their crews listening to a song that offered them something they had never imagined possible. The Void Empress felt tears on her face, though she had not cried in 1,000,000 years. We had forgotten," she whispered. "Forgotten what we were before the hunger took us." The construct around the black hole began to change. Instead of draining energy, it started to release it. The dark metal transformed into something that looked almost like crystal, beautiful and alive. One by one, the Void Hunter ships stopped their attack. Their biometal hulls began to change color, shifting from dead black to the soft silver of new growth. "We accept your invitation," the Void Empress said. "Teach us to build instead of consume. Show us how to become what you have become." Yon Su smiled as she watched former enemies embrace each other across the depths of space. "All ships, stand down. Begin recovery operations. We have work to do." 5 years later, Jae Sung stood on the observation deck of New Harmony Station, watching. Ships from 100 different species worked together to build something beautiful. The station floated near the galactic core, where the Void Hunter's construct had once threatened to drain the central black hole. Now it was a monument to cooperation. The crystal structure channeled energy from the black hole to power colonies across the galaxy. Former Void Hunter bioships had become living habitats where different species learned from each other. "The quarterly reports are in," his assistant said, approaching with a data pad. "Trade is up 40% across all sectors. The Void Hunter Rehabilitation Program has integrated 70% of their population into cooperative society, and we have received first contact protocols from 3 new species that want to join us." Jae Sung nodded, but his attention was on something else. Through the station's windows, he could see human ships preparing for another journey. Not conquest or exploration this time, but something new. They were heading beyond the galaxy, carrying the message that had saved them all. The message that growth came not from consuming others, but from lifting them up. Young Me joined him at the window. She was older now, with gray in her hair, but her eyes still held the same hope that had convinced the Void Empress to choose cooperation over conquest. "Where will they go?" she asked, watching the ships prepare to depart. "Wherever they are needed," Jae-sung replied. "There are other galaxies out there. Other species facing the same choices we once faced, the same choice the Void Hunters faced. And if they choose differently," Jae-sung smiled, "then we will show them what they could become." Instead, as the human ships jumped to hyperspace, heading for distant galaxies and unknown challenges, the people of the Terran Cooperative continued their work. They built schools where former enemies taught their children. They created art that celebrated 100 different cultures. They explored new worlds not to conquer them, but to share them. The day humanity abandoned the Council had indeed changed the universe, but not in the way anyone expected. It had shown the galaxy that the strongest force in existence was not weapons or technology or ancient wisdom. It was the simple choice to help others become better than they were, and that choice, once made, could spread across the stars like light itself, transforming everything it touched.